Hello everyone, welcome to a class on world classics in translation. So today we are going to discuss a one-act play by Bertolt Brecht called A Respectable Wedding. So before we go ahead with discussion of the play, let's focus on the author Bertolt Brecht. So he's a German poet, playwright and theater reformer. He was the founder of what is called epic theater. So he was actually a practitioner of medicine in Bavaria. So while he was practicing medicine, he developed certain anti bourgeois attitudes, and it also resulted in a deep disappointment in the mankind at the end of World War One. He also had Marxist leanings and used the medium of theater to propagate Marxist ideas. He actually used his theater to teach certain ideals to his spectators. So he went into exile in Denmark and the USA. Most of his works were banned in his country, and that is where he wrote most of his plays from 1937 to 1941. And his important works include Baal, Mother Courage and Her Children, The Life of Galileo, Threepenny Opera, etc., among many other plays. So before we go ahead further, we have to discuss about epic theater. So now what is epic theater? So this is a kind of political theater. It usually addresses contemporary issues. Later in Brecht's life, he preferred to call it dialectical theater. So the important figures who influenced epic theater and many of the techniques used in epic theater are Erwin Piscator and Leopold Gessner. So this actually epic theater, the plays in epic theater, it's actually a form of didactic drama. So the play is presented as a series of loosely connected scenes, and it tries to avoid the illusion that is central to traditional drama, because Brecht believed that the classical approaches to theater were a little escapist. It is actually, you go for a play to escape from the realities of your life. So Brecht was more interested in facts and reality than escapism. And an important concept developed by him was called Wolfram-Downs effect. It's called the estrangement effect or alienation effect. So this was a series of techniques which was used by Brecht to distance the audience from the play. So constantly the audience is made aware that they are actually watching a play and it has got nothing to do with life. So this is called alienation effect or estrangement effect or Wolfram-Downs effect. So Brecht did not actually want the audience to have any emotional attachment to what they are watching. So most often what happens when we are watching a play or a movie is that we get involved emotionally in the narrative. But this is precisely what Brecht wanted to avoid. So he did various things to break this illusion. So he often broke the fourth wall, the imaginary fourth wall between the audience and the theatrical action. And most often we can find a direct addressing of the audience in most of his plays. Sometimes he uses certain montages, like, he would string together a few video or audio clips to show factual events, thus breaking illusion. And he also used a lot of song, music, and dance to constantly remind the audience that they are not watching real life. Because in real life, we rarely break into song and dance sequences like we see in movies. So, epic theater also is often seen to employ minimal set costumes, props, and lighting. And it always places the setting as not too realistic. We shouldn't associate it with real life. And often we can also see that they used a lot of placards to break illusion. So rather than organically knowing a character, sometimes the character would show up on the stage with a placard with their name on it. So, and in other scenes, like in scenes of heightened emotions and such moments, sometimes the actor would break from the character and talk to the audience directly, probably asking, "Did I do that well?" So, it also reminds the audience that this is a drama. They are not watching a real life scenario. Sometimes they also, while an emotional scene is going on, the frame would freeze as in a tableau. So that would also break the action. It would destroy the continuity of the narrative, thus distancing the audience, the spectator, from what is happening on the stage. That is how Brecht engaged the theatrical techniques for estrangement effect or alienation effect. a scene from one of Brecht's plays. You can use that. You can see that they are using placards for uh, alienation effect here also. So let's go to a discussion on a respectable wedding. So when we see the opening, we can see that it's a very minimal set, a whitewashed room. It is furnished with a large rectangular table, nine wooden chairs, a sofa, a low coffee table, and two chairs. And there are some doors in the back wall on the left and a window to the right. So there are some wedding guests. So recently a wedding has happened, and this is the wedding dinner party or something like that. So all of the guests are seated at the table. They are in the middle of eating, and the characters which we meet are, let's actually group them together. So there's the bride and the groom. Bride's name is Maria. Groom's name is Jacob. Bride's father and groom's mother are other characters. Bride's sister, her name is Ina. And the wife and the husband, the wife's name is Emmy. We don't know the husband's name. Emmy is actually Maria's friend. And we can also see that there is another interesting character. This is the groom's friend. We don't know his name. And there is a young man, and we are not aware of his connection to the family. His name is later revealed to be Hans Miltner. So these are the characters that can be seen at the opening scene. So when the stage opens, we are right in the middle of a dinner scene, and we see the characters behaving with each other. The mother of the groom, she is often seen cooking and serving food to the rest of the party. She never sits down with the rest of them. She seems to be toiling away in the kitchen, and she brings out course after course of food. And coming to the father of the bride, he is characteristically an old man who is boring the people with his stories, and often his stories have a disgusting nature. For example, these are some of the stories he says throughout the one act play. First thing, he talks about his brother vomiting all over the dinner table at a similar dinner party. Now nobody wants to listen to a vomiting story when they are having a good dinner. And then he tells a story about a friend dying from a disease called tabes, and the bride says it is indecent to report this story. And then he goes on to discuss about a story on flush toilets. You don't want to listen to that when you are eating. And then he gives a toast to dead relatives, and the groom reminds him that let's talk about the living people. And again, he describes in disgusting detail about the death of his uncle August from dropsy, how his body parts have swollen and it was oozing, and it's such a disgusting story when they are having dinner. And then he seems to love his daughter Maria so much, and he remembers with too much fondness how Maria once had wine, and they expected her to dance, but she ended up falling asleep, thus embarrassing the bride. The bride constantly tries to stop her father from saying, repeating these stories, because obviously she lived with her father her entire life, so she knows how disgusting he can get. So the bride is often irritated by his behavior, and she constantly tries to steer the conversation away from her father by distracting him in one way or the other. And the groom seems to be having some anxieties over his mother's nature. The mother is an over yielding person. She's constantly trying to please everyone with her cooking and all that. And probably the mother feels like with the marriage, with her son being married, now her grip over her son would be lost. Now the son would be more lenient towards the wife and not the mother. So she wants to get verbal approval from her son often. She feels like, he's not that interested in his mother anymore. And about the wife and the husband, this is the bride's friend. Her name is Emmy, which we learn much later in the play. They seem to be having some passive aggressive behavior towards each other. This husband and wife, they are constantly criticizing and decrediting the other. The wife also finds the occasion to criticize the others in the dinner party, pointing to their mistakes. For instance, she says that the chairs and all, it's pretty good but looks a little weak. The bed is good but it's a little too wide and all that. So at all these instances, the husband tries to pacify her by compensating, overcompensating with his words. Whatever the wife is criticizing, the husband says, no, 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 it doesn't matter. It's actually good. And coming to the bride and the sister and the relationship, there seems to be some tension there also. And the bride is always criticizing the behavior of her sister from simple matters like using her cutlery. She says that, Ina, you don't use cutlery, you don't use a fork to eat your fish. Also, the sister seems to have an attraction to the young man. So that is also not very pleasant behavior according to the bride. And then the young man and the bride sister, they seem to be attracted to each other from the start of the play itself. Their conversations often steer towards romance. So, this dinner scene is proceeding when the discussion starts. So, the wife remarks that there is a good smell emanating from the room. It smells nice in this dinner room. And the groom's mother comes and reports that, yeah, it smells good because the groom used half a bottle of his cologne to make it smell so good. Then the discussion steers towards the groom's contribution to the married household. Now, this is a newly married house, and he has handmade all the wooden furniture in the house for the wedding. He didn't buy glue from the store to stick the pieces of wood together. He made his own glue. He doesn't believe in the glue which we buy from the store, and he has designed the furniture, and he has taken so much care. For the past 5 months he has been working to put together the wooden furniture. But the wife, that lady, doubts the strength of the furniture from the start. Now, the furniture includes 9 armchairs, which we discussed earlier. There is also a cupboard and even a bed. And although she is a little critical, the wife actually finds it an occasion to poke a jab on her husband. Says that, look at what other people's husbands are doing. You are not good at all. You're not useful at all. Look at what other husbands are doing, how they are actively contributing to the household and all. Now, the bride openly expresses her displeasure at her father's disgusting stories. She says that they are not funny at all, but the groom defends him. Now, look at the position the groom finds himself in. He is a newly married. He wants to please his father in law in one way or the other. So, even if the father in law is saying disgusting stories, he has to encourage them somehow. So, we can also notice the tension between the bride and her mother in law. So everyone is praising the mother-in-law, and they are asking her secrets of how this particular dish tastes so good. And when she says that I use 3 eggs in this dish, she says, "Oh, so naturally it tastes good because eggs add taste to anything." So we can actually see that she is a little anxious about how to keep this man happy, the way the mother kept this boy happy. So she probably feels like she could never achieve the perfection of the older woman in matters like cooking and serving. So the young man and the bride's sister, they engage in a romantic private talk while the others are having this open conversation. They are in one corner of the table, they are talking to each other, and they are even playing with their feet under the table, what we call footsie. And accidentally the young man ends up hitting the husband's foot under the table. Now, the wife and the husband, they disagrees when the husband attempts to make a speech. The wife says that no, 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 you can't do a good job at speaking and all that. Now the discussion steers towards another thing. The young man stands up. He makes a moving speech. It's actually a formal toast to the newly married couple. He addresses them as an innocent maiden and a man, a lucky man and an innocent maiden. So everybody seems to appreciate the speech. He even tries to sing a popular song at the end of the speech, but nobody joins him. So the husband seems to appreciate him, but then the husband all of a sudden points out that this speech is actually a prepared speech. It is from a book called The Speeches for Wedding Receptions, precisely from page number 85. So many more bottles of wine are consumed by the wedding guests. Now the church bells started ringing, and that is when the speech and all that goes around. And after the church bells stop ringing, everyone seems to relax. Now the father, bride's father, he talks that when he had this original plan to give Maria a family heirloom, they had a bed. It was made of walnut wood. It's a family heirloom. It has been in the family for many generations. Many people in their family has died in this wood, in this wooden bed and all that. But now that the groom has made the furniture, it feels like it is not needed anymore. Now the party wants to look at the furniture made by the groom. So they start looking at the lounge chair and all, but then the wife points out that it has weak legs. Then they move on to look at the cupboards. The cupboards seem a little plain on the outside, nothing too special. It doesn't have a polish or anything on the outside. And then they bring the key to open the cupboard. The bride keeps claiming that it's not so good on the outside, but it's actually quite attractive on the inside. But however, they cannot open this cupboard with the key. Both the bride and the groom try, but they cannot open the cupboard. Now the husband and wife start getting rude towards each other. From the start itself, they had a little bit of tension. Now they are openly rude to each other. Now that leads to a change on the scene, on the stage. As I mentioned at the start, Brecht always employed song, music and dance in his plays. Now the party proposes to sing a song and dance. Now the friend says that I know how to play the guitar, I'll play a tune and you all can dance. Now, we expect the bride and the groom to dance together. However, the groom actually wants to dance with another person. Now they want to clear some space for them to dance. Now the groom and the young man, they are moving the table. That is when one leg of the table gets bent, and when they put it down, it ends up being broken a little bit. But the groom says, it doesn't matter. I'll get it ready later. Let's just enjoy now. Now the dance partners are all jumbled up. The groom dances with the bride's friend, that is the wife. The bride dances with the young man. His name is Hans Miltner. And the bride's sister dances with the husband. So there are three couples, but none of them are dancing with their partners. So it is an exhilarating experience for everyone. Everyone is so relaxed now after dancing, and the wife sits down all of a sudden in the lounge chair, which cracks. Now, the wife, although she says that she enjoyed dancing, she doesn't approve of her husband dancing with the sister much. She says that, I know that you want to dance and all, but it's not good for your health. If you end up having some kind of health issue after this dance, I am the one who has to suffer. I have to take good care of you after that. Why are you doing this to me? So you can see that this is a toxic couple, the husband and the wife. So the wife now pressures the husband to sing. I know that you're a good singer. Please sing. And he says, he tries to make excuses. He says that I cannot sing and all that. Then he starts to sing, but he says that he's forgotten the song. This leads her to blame him for not giving enough importance to her. At the start of our marriage, you were like so much song and music and all. Now you can't even remember our special song, and you never give me attention at all. So we see this nagging couple. Now the husband says, I will play the guitar. I'll play a waltz tune in A major. And the bride now is dancing very passionately with the groom's friend. So actually, this is a little weird because the groom's friend, earlier he couldn't dance because he was playing the guitar. Now, when he got a chance to dance, he actually wants the newly married bride to dance with him rather than any other lady. Now, the wife, even though she claps for the people who are dancing, under her breath, she complains to her husband that she disapproves of this. She's newly married. She just got married today. How dare she dance so passionately with another man like this? So shameless and all that. So now you can say that this wife character, she is supposed to be the best friend of the bride. She doesn't seem to care for this lady, the bride, in any way in reality. Even the groom is not so happy about this passionate dance between his friend and his newly married wife. So he presents a happy front to his friend. He says that, oh, you guys danced well, perfect, and all that. But then he's not so happy with the fact Now, the friend, after getting tired dancing, he sits on a chair, and there is a splinter in the chair, and he had worn his best pants for the party, and it rips his pants. Now, he points it out, and the groom seems to be a little apologetic that his furniture has ripped the pants and all that. But the friend says it doesn't matter. It's okay. I'll get it, repaired and all that. Now the friend sings a ballad. Now this is a vulgar ballad. It is called the Ballad of Chastity in Major. It's actually a vulgar song. It details about how a young man and a woman, they come together. They are in a romantic relationship, but because this girl is a virgin, they couldn't go forward and defile her, so the guy hired a prostitute. Now, the prostitution, that scene is also described in further detail, and the fornication details are mentioned, and all that. Now, hearing this ballad, the wife is giggling. The groom is appreciating his friend. Oh, that was so good. That song, the ballad was so good. The bride seems, she acts like she doesn't quite understand the content of the song. I didn't quite understand what you're singing about. Are you singing about sex? Because I don't know anything about that. I'm a pure and innocent woman. She's putting on a front like that. She's a newly married woman. She is supposed to, be a virgin on her wedding night. So now the complication starts. Now things are getting complicated. The sister and the young man, they cannot find them anywhere. They seem to have stepped out for a private rendezvous. Now, in private, the bride and groom are disgusted at the friend's vulgar song. And the groom is disgusted that the bride would dance so passionately with another man. Bride says earlier the bride claimed that she doesn't know the content of the vulgar song. Now she says that how dare your friend sing such a vulgar song? Is this the kind of friends you hang around with? I don't really approve of your choice of friends and all. So earlier she was claiming to be so innocent, she doesn't even know about sex. Now she's actually, she knows what the song was about and all that. Now the sister and the young man return. They claim that they were in the kitchen helping the mother make a mousse. However, the wife notices that the young people, they are both red in their face. So that actually suggests that they were not in the kitchen. They were probably outside making out, kissing, or something, engaged in some kind of sexual activity. Like the wife, as she is laughing, her chair cracks again. And the groom makes the excuse that, oh, are you really sitting on that chair? Please don't sit on that chair. When I came to working on that particular chair, I ran out of dowels. I ran out of some raw materials. So that chair is not so strong. Don't sit on that chair. And then more wine is brought from the cellar, and they are toasting. So probably a German toast, Prost, is said again and again by the guests. Now the groom is actually really irritated at his friend because of his friend's behavior and the vulgar song, and the dancing with his wife and all. The husband and the young man, they start discussing the play Bal. And if you remember, Bal is a play by Brecht himself. So we can see that he is using his own characters to critique his own previous work. So we see a disagreement between the husband and the young man about Bal. And then the father makes a conversation. He makes a comment, says that the way these modern writers drag family life into the gutter when it's the most precious thing we Germans possess. So you see how, the German middle class family life is supposed to be one of their precious gifts and all that. But actually, it is precisely that which is being satirized throughout the play, especially in this play, A Respectable Wedding, and most of the other plays by Brecht. Something which the Germans value a lot. It is their middle class values and family life, the domestic life, and all that. So actually, Brecht criticizes himself probably using one of his characters here. And now we see that things are getting further complicated. Some of the party wants to move to the other rooms to look at the other furniture. They try to open the cupboard again. So, it's not possible. They break part of the door and all that. Now, the sister claims that she can't get up because her chair is also broken. Now, in private, the wife and the friend, they criticize the groom for taking off his jacket in the middle of a party. It's not very nice manners to take off one's jacket when a formal party is going on. And the bride and the groom, when all the other people exit the stage, they are fighting with each other because the stage is lit by lanterns. So that suggests that there is a power failure in the house. The bride says, shouldn't you have called an electrician? Shouldn't you have entrusted the wiring work to an electrician? You wanted to do it all by yourself, but you didn't do a proper job. Now, the groom criticizes the bride's sister's behavior. What about your sister? Didn't you see how she's hanging out with that Milner guy? So shameless. Is this what middle class values are like? Now, the bride gets very irritated at the vulgarity of the friend's ballad. She also points out that earlier the young man, Miltner, he made a speech about the innocent bride. She feels like the usage, innocent bride. That was a deliberate usage because they have a secret. We come to know of that soon. Now the couple is actually saying that I wish we could get rid of the guests somehow. We are really frustrated, irritated at their blabbering, eating and drinking. They are drinking so much wine today. And at the same time, they are dreading being alone also. They don't want the guests to leave also. So now the wife returns. She is obviously very drunk now. Now she forgets all social graces and she ridicules the newly married couple for their broken furniture, for there being no electricity in the house, and for the developing smell. There seems to be a peculiar smell developing in the room. Yeah, remember, it was actually smelling pretty pleasant at the start because they used cologne in the room. Now the friend is also saying, I gifted a bottle of cologne to the groom as a wedding gift, and now he emptied a half of that cologne bottle in this room. Probably, I think that peculiar smell is the glue, the handmade glue that the groom made. It smells pretty bad. So to mask the smell, he has used emptied half a bottle of the cologne. Now the wife accuses the bride of being pregnant. How that happens is the father really looks at the bride and says, "You look so pretty, so perfect in that wedding dress." And now the wife is really drunk. The wife says that, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I know that you are, hiding something more than your body under that wedding dress. I know that you're hiding your pregnancy under that big bridal dress and all." Now the bride starts sobbing. Now there's a verbal fight between the sister and the wife. The sister tries to defend the bride. The husband now gets violent. He's now quite irritated at his wife's behavior. He wrenches off a table leg and throws it at his wife, but he misses his wife and he breaks the vase gifted by the sister. Now the sister is irritated at the groom because this was a gift by her and the groom did not consider it good enough to keep it safe. Now the husband goes into a tirade against his wife. She's been playing victim for the past 7 years of marriage. She's never satisfied with whatever he does and all that. He ends up in trouble in whatever scenario. Now the atmosphere is really tense. Everyone is really irritated with each other. Now it's very awkward, and the groom suggests some more wine. But the young man says, let's do some more dancing. But the friend points out that there's no point in continuing this party because there are no chairs to sit. All the chairs are already broken. Now let's see this conversation happening between the wife and the bride. The wife says, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And the bride says, who's living in glass houses? Your dress is so well made. It completely hides the fact that you are. Now she also announces that the bride is pregnant. So further complication happens. The husband, he had gone inside to get his coat. Now he's quite tired of all this fighting and all going on between the two, and he tries to discipline his wife. He takes his wife home And it's a little menacing, this scene. He apologizes to the other characters for having such a wife. The groom says, there's no need to apologize. And the wife all of a sudden says, I'm afraid to go home. And the husband says, that's your revenge. But the party's over now, back to real life. Let's go. Now he's taking her arm, and it seems a little violent. Now, the wife is obviously a nagging wife, a toxic character, all that. But the husband seems to be a little violent also. He's not so much pushover. There seems to be some kind of physical violence in the privacy of their home. Look how he says the party's over, back to real life. So your pretension, faking and all, it's over. It's time to face the music of what you have done. You're going to get a gift at home. So there is that menace in his tone and her attitude. Now, the groom and his friend, they have a verbal fight over the glue stink. The friend says, I gave you this good cologne bottle and you used it to mask the stink of this, disgusting glue and all that. And also, the splinter from your chair ripped my favorite pants. And the father of the bride, he also seems to be tired now. He wants to take Ina and Mr. Mildner home. And he's offering, he once again, he offers the family heirloom, the bed. Now that all the furniture is at a point of complete destruction, he offers the bed again. The bride seems to be irritated at the sisters' association with Mr. Mildner. Actually, when they are alone, she even asks why this Mr. Mildner was even invited. He doesn't seem to be a member of their social class. He's related to them by some worker in the household. He's the son of a worker in the household. So, that is probably why the others are disapproving of the growing attraction between sister and Mr. Milner. So now all the guests have left. Now the bride and the groom are all alone. Now the play moves towards resolution. The bride is now concerned about the disgrace she's going to face from the society because of her premarital pregnancy. Tomorrow, these wedding guests will probably spread it all over the town and she will become a laughing stock. She's also dissatisfied with the way how the party went. The lights were not working, the mousse was not well cooked, and also the broken furniture. Now the groom is also irritated. The guests kept on breaking his furniture. It took him 5 months of hard work to put all this together. He also disapproves of the vulgar singing and dancing. And the bride now expresses her anger at the man. You are the one who made me wait for 5 months to finish your furniture work to get married. Now it is too late. I am showing the signs of pregnancy are showing in my body. That is how my friend came to know that I am 3 months pregnant. Now the groom reminds her, this is why she was a little touchy when the young man called her innocent bride. She is not innocent because she was sexually active. Innocence is often associated with sexual ignorance. Now, the groom reminds her that they are now all alone and it is our wedding night. But the bride expresses her irritation at the groom sharing the first dance with Emmy. You broke the sacredness of our marriage by dancing with that horrible woman. That is her best friend. Now they look around at their house. It has become like a pigsty. Everyone was actually throwing stuff at each other and they are angry at the guests for drinking up so much wine, even though they themselves offered it. And now they also have to pay for repairs, all that. And we see a stain on the bride's wedding dress. That is again a symbol of her impurity. And there's a lot of leftover wine which was not drunk in the glasses. Now the groom wants to save money and he starts drinking the wine. And he says that I cannot drink to your purity, to your virginity, because that ship has sailed. You're no longer a virgin. You're 3 months pregnant. I'm drinking to your health, darling. And then they actually end up laughing together. So the whole tense situation turns into a comic situation, and the night ends up happy and playful to the couple as they head to their bedroom to celebrate their wedding night. Now focus on the play. What is the play really about? So this is actually, the Guardian called it a buoyant farce about a bourgeois wedding in which everything goes disastrously wrong. The bride is 3 months pregnant, the groom's homemade chairs and cupboards fall apart at the slightest touch, and the insults flow freely among the rampantly disorderly guests. Now, this is a provocative play. The Germans, they are comfortable living a pretentious life of the petty bourgeois society. So, behind the pristine veneer of the social and family life, people seem to be faking pleasantries towards each other. They seem to keep up the familial and social ties just to keep up pretensions in the society, because it is expected from the society for you to be pleasant towards each other. Underneath all this layers, when you are under some pressure, this layer of niceties, it breaks down. And just like the wooden furniture which is flimsily stuck together by handmade glue, our values are also stuck together by something as flimsy as glue. And just like the furniture breaks down, our values, our fake morality, it all breaks down, and the reality of our human behavior comes out. So we can notice some recurring things in this one act play. We can see that there is strain in familial ties. You can notice that between the bride and the father, although the father seems to adore Maria, Maria doesn't seem to share that warmth towards her father. She's constantly trying to divert her father's attention from saying his stories and all. Now, between the bride and the bride's sister seems to be a loving sister, but the bride disapproves of some things that the sister is engaged in. And between the husband and the wife, obviously, they don't share a warm relationship. It's always it's menacing from his part. Probably some physical violence is hinted at. Also from the wife's end, she is quite toxic and nagging. And the groom and the mother also, seem to be to have shared a warm relationship earlier. I'm sorry for that. A warm relationship earlier, but now maybe the mother is a little anxious about the change in their dynamics with the groom's wedding. And between the bride and the groom also, they have the added pressure of being pregnant before wedlock. So, outside of wedlock. So probably, the groom should have taken responsibility and married her earlier before she started to show. Now you can also see that it is not just between the familial ties, it's also about the social ties. All kinds of social ties are just for convenience sake. The invitation to the people, they don't even share a genuine friendship towards the people. Like the friend and the groom, they don't really share a warm relationship. Even though he has invited his friend and all that, he doesn't appreciate how his friend dances so passionately with his newly married bride. And he also doesn't like that he's singing the vulgar song and all that. And about Emmy and Maria, Emmy claims to be Maria's best friend, but it is Emmy who subjects Maria to ridicule, pointing out her premarital pregnancy. And you can also see that there is a control of sexual behavior. The bride's pregnancy itself is, why should she hide it? It is There is an attempt in bourgeois society to control the sexual behavior, especially that of women. It is one of the middle class values. So they want to give out a front that the bride is innocent, meaning sexually ignorant at the time of her wedding. Probably that is why they are hiding the pregnancy. And the sisters flirting with the young man is also not taken very kindly, also because this is an unmarried girl. She shouldn't be openly flirting and going away into secrecy with a young man, or playing footsie under the table with a young man, and that to a young man belonging to a different social class, probably a lower social class. And the vulgar ballad and all that, the bride pretends that she doesn't know what the ballad is really about. The only woman who seems to understand what the ballad is about is the married woman, the wife, but actually the bride understands. And then there is a fake reality. The lady is pretending to be offended at the ballad, but in secret the wife is actually enjoying the ballad. Um And then self critique, we mentioned that Brecht is critiquing his own work, Bal, through his characters. And overall, we can see that this play is satirizing the middle class values. Under the peaceful exterior, chaotic interior lives are actually, that is the reality of petty bourgeois society. So that brings us to the end of this lesson on a respectable wedding. I hope you enjoyed this class. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.